Thank you. Vayom Nahem. And it was in those days. What are those days referring to? In the days that the King Achashverosh conquered. Keshevis HaMelech Achashverosh. When the king was Shevis. Shevis means the simple meaning when the kingdom of Achashverosh was settled after he conquered 127 Medinas, and everything is settled. Now we have to point out that Chazal and the Vilna Gaon point this out, that remember, any single time that it says HaMelech, right, Abe, when it says the king, Achashverosh, it's referring to Achashverosh. But when it only says HaMelech, the king, it means, of course, the physical king Achashverosh, but it's also referring to Hashem. So remember, Hashem's name is not mentioned in the Megillah, but everything is being woven that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is controlling every single part of our lives. That's why we don't always see Hashem in the open, but we know that He's guiding every single thing. Now look what's interesting. When the Malchus of Achashverosh was Niskayim, Kesheves HaMelech Achashverosh, another pshat, the Gemara says in Megillah Yud Aleph Amud Beis, Achashenis Yashvu Daitoi, after Achashverosh was settled in his thoughts. Why would he have been settled in his thoughts? Because then he knew that, the Jews are not going to be redeemed. So he said, if they're not going to be redeemed, we're going to party. And we're going to see what kind of party he threw. So we said two pshat. And one, what does it mean that he was settled? His kingdom was settled because he conquered the lands. Pshat number 2 from the Gemara in Megillah, his mind was settled because he understood, the 70 years have passed, according to his calculation, and the Jews were not yet redeemed. So what happened? Al kisei malchuso yasher b'Shushan Habir. And he was sitting on his throne that was in Shushan Habir. Asher is an extra word. Why was he in Shushan Habir? So we mentioned before that Achashverosh wanted to have a throne that was as great as King Solomon's throne that we spoke about. It was a magical throne. But he couldn't have that one. So he appointed the best craftsmen, and wouldn't you know, where were the best craftsmen in the land? In Shushan. To build him a throne like Shlomo HaMelech's. And he wanted to move it because Shushan wasn't the capital. Where's the capital? In Iraq somewhere, in Bavel, in Baghdad, in the Fertile Crescent. But the throne was too big, they couldn't move it. So he decided, since my throne was in Shushan, I guess I'll move the capital city to Shushan. And wouldn't you know who was living there? Just happened to be Mordechai and Esther. So the whole Purim story, that the Melech Achashverosh had such a modern, crazy idea to build such a meshugadika throne, so big that he couldn't move the thing. And by the way, he had thrones in every single one of his 127 Medinas. He had 127 thrones. This was just the biggest one. This is the most chashuv one. And that he decided the whole Shushan, he moved the whole capital to Shushan Habir. That's just by coincidence. Or like we say, a coincidence. It's good, right? I heard that from Brazil. That's such a thing that Mordechai and Esther were in Shushan Habir. Gewaldig, right? Now, when was all this happening? Bishnas shalosh lamalchai. In the 3rd year, after he had conquered all these 127 Medinas, and he was settled, and he was on his throne. So what do you do when you're settled and you're on your throne? Asa mishteh. You make a party. A mishta means a suda, but why does a mishta means to drink? He made a drinking party. The answer is because the ikr of the party was the wine, which we'll get to. That's why I didn't say he made a suda, I said he made a mishta. He made a wine party. Even though it was a suda, he made a party of yayin, because that's the ikr, like Rashi says, it's going after the yayin. L'kol sarav, for all of his sarim, chashav people, heads of medinas, va'avadav, the people that are more local and serve him, l'chel paras, and the army members of Persia Umadai. He's gathering every single person in 127 provinces to this party. Hapartamim, different pshatim, what that means. Either it means some type of an officer or parsim, those that were in a position of very big power, Visare HaMedinas, and the kings of those 127 provinces, Lefanov, to come to him. So the whole party is happening where? In Shushan. A massive party, the likes that we never saw before. And he's bringing everybody there. And once he knew, once he was settled, he said, I'm going to have to start bringing out some of the booty. I'm going to start showing off. He was flexing his wealth. Now look what he was doing. Baharoisai. Now Baharois is an interesting word. As he was showing, he wanted to show Es Oisher Kavod Malchusai. Oisher, wealth, and kavod, the honor of his kingdom. Now notice, it doesn't say Oishroi. The Targum Sheni says, it doesn't say Oishroi, his Oisher. Why doesn't it say his Oisher? Why did it say Oisher? Oh, it wasn't his. What was he about to bring out? He was about to bring out the vessels of Beis HaMikdash. Now those don't belong to you, Achashverosh. And you know it's not going to be good after you do that. That's how the Pasuk says, Oisher Kavod Malchusai. He was bringing out now vessels from Beis HaMikdash. Some say that he brought out first his lower officers and he showed everybody how rich they were. Because if the people that are under you are rich, then kol shekain, it means you're balling. Meaning, if you own a company and you show that the members of your company drive nice cars, so you know whatever the boss is driving. So he brings the whole fleet of, Rolls Royces. So you can imagine what the company, what the boss has. So he started showing those who were under him their wealth, and then people started imagining what would that look like by Achashverosh. Ves Yakar Tiferes Gedulasai. The expensive Tiferes Gedulasai. What is Tiferes Gedulasai? So Chazal say the following. Anytime that you see the word Tiferes, the Gemara says, what is Tiferes referring to? The Gemara Megillah Yud Beis Amud Aleph, that he put on the begodim of the Kohen Gadol. Achashverosh put on the clothing of the Kohen Gadol, the Shmoyne begodim. These were the. How did he get them? From Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar had stolen them, and it says about the clothing of the Kohen Gadol, Yakar Tiferes Gedulasai, and it says Ve'asisa Bigdei Kodesh La'aron Achicha Lechavoid Ul Sifaris. So the Gemara learns Ma Hasam Kahuna Afkan Bigdei Kahuna. Just like over there, we're talking about the Big Day Kahuna. So too here in the Purim story, Achashverosh puts on the begodim of the Kohen Gadol. That is serious stuff. You got to be a major Russia to be playing around. Now you might say he was dressing up for Purim. My kids like dressing up as the but it's not the Big Day Kohen Gadol. So all of this was Oisher. It was not Oishroi. This did not belong. And anything which belongs to Beis HaMikdash is Me'ila. To misappropriate things from Beis HaMikdash is very, very severe. How long did that mishteh go on for? So it says, Yomim Rabim, many, many days. Different pshatim, Yom Rabim seems to be either many days, Yom Rabim is all the summer days, the days of warm summer days. Yomim Rabim, i.e. the long days, that's the Manus HaLevi. Rab means like a lot, like the days that were long, the summer months. Or it means they were longer than the second party, which we're going to get to shortly. How long was it? Shmoinim u'meas yoim. 180-day gig. Kanaking. Partying for 180 days. I don't even know if they do that in Ibiza. 180 days of debauchery. Showing off his wealth to all the bigwigs around the world. This is serious. You know something is being, forebode. Something is about to happen. Next pasuk. Uvimalois hayam ma'ele. And after all these days finished, these 180 days of the first party, so what happened? Osa hamelech. Now you notice it just says hamelech, the king. The king. Made lekol ha'am, made for all the nation, hanimtzaim b'shushan abira, made a smaller VIP party for only those that were in the capital city of Shushan, which there was a lot of Jews there. Many of the kings over the generations, they found their ways towards the Yidden. Because they knew where the Yidden are, there's going to be Hatzlacha. They took Jewish accountants and Jewish lawyers and doctors because there was going to be some blessing that was going to come. So the whole story is going this way, all the way around, that now the big party is happening in Shushan Abira, the second party, which is going to be a 7-day party. After 180 days, it's going to be the VIP, 7 days. L'migodoil ve'ad koton. Everybody comes to this party. The old, the young, everybody comes to this one. How long? Mishte, it was a mishte. Shivas yom, 7 days. Now, where was the mishte? He made the mishte in 3 locations. Location number 1, Bachatzar. It was in the courtyard. Everything is getting more and more intimate. Ubeginas, and it was in the Gina. It was in the gardens, the royal gardens. Ubeisan HaMelech, and the place where they plant royal orchards. So it was going deeper and deeper, different locations. According to your chashivas, you got to experience different places. And Vashti had her own party, which we'll get to inside the shtib, inside the house. Kol kavud bas melech penima.
It also says only the melech, the king's palace.
That's right, hamelech. Hamelech. All of this was the king's, even though on the surface it's just a nice story. Nothing is, but everything here is dripping with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Next pasuk. Now, in order to show and have such a beautiful party, there had to be these visuals. So it's going to go through it. So Achashverosh, what did he do? He decorated chur, karpas, uschelis. He made beautiful tapestries of chur, of needle points, that which had holes in it that was woven together. Karpas, beautiful, karim, pasim, and tchelis. Tchelis was also a color that was reserved for royalty, which is the big, big topic when it comes to Klal Yisrael having the tchelis over all the generations. That one of the reasons that we did have, it's a famous Ramban on the Torah, is that Klal Yisrael had the tchelis over all the generations, but we had to keep it hidden. Why? Because if you had that blue string, if you had that tchelis on your tzit, if you had that color was reserved for kings, and you would be considered rebelling against the kingdom if you held such color. Only the kings could have such a color. It was a royal color. Even Adiyam said that blue is so beautiful. It's a royal color.
Argaman too was royal?
Argaman's also royal. I'm not sure if it had the same penalties as tchelis. Or at least the nafkamina wasn't as much, because by us the nafkamina by tchelis was, would we show that we had that color. Ochuz, and it was all attached, the chevle boots, with gorgeous flax, chevle boots, and everything was colors, all the colors you can imagine. Argamon, which is a type of violet purple. Al glile chesef, the nails themselves were all made out of silver. Val amudei sheish, and everything was columns of marble. Mitoy zahav chesef, and the beds were made out of gold and silver. The Gemara first says, if you were chashav, you had a gold bed, and if you were less so, you had a silver bed. Gold is worth a lot more than silver is $28 an ounce. Gold is $1,900 an ounce. Gold is... So the Gemara says it can't be because they would create kinna, would create jealousy between people. They say, you had a gold bed, I got a silver one. That wouldn't be good for the party. So, different opinions. Either the top of the bed was gold, the legs were silver, or the legs were gold and the bed was silver, or the whole bed was silver but then coated in gold, or it had streaks of gold. There was a lot of gold, that's for sure. Even one bed leg of gold is a lot of gold. Because why did he have to have beds? Because everyone had to be leaning and lying down in the position of a seba. You were royalty when you came to this party. Everyone had their own private bed. Private bed. They would escort you. Come to your private bed. Lie down. Sounds nice, right?
Sounds great.
Except... now, not only were the beds, but the floor to which everything was positioned upon were filled with gemstones. Ritzpatz bahat. The whole floor was bahat, means like people go nuts. It's talking about precious gemstones that a person, when they see that, they're like bahat. They're like, they bug out when they see it. Gorgeous gemstones inlaid on the floor. Vashesh v'dar v'soicharis. The whole floor was interspersed with avonim toivus, with very, very precious gems and rubies and sapphires and diamonds and emeralds, as far as the eye can see. Some of the rooms had places where there was carpets on top, just to show how rich he was. He even had gemstones under his carpets. Not like we put carpets where we couldn't put enough gemstones on the floor. No, everything is gemstones. As far as the eye can see. Big stones, little stones. Next pasuk. V'hashkois, and there were people there that were distributing drinks. Hashkois means like they were seriously involved in giving people to drink. And they were very, very zrizes. Make sure everybody had what to drink. Bechli zahav. And people were drinking out of golden goblets. Now, generally, gold is not the best metal to drink from because it's sour. However, the Mefarshim say if it's in there for a short period of time, it actually makes it better. If it's only in... Satna Rebbe had a golden Kiddush cup. They say if you can get a gold Kiddush cup, it's very good. We all have silver ones, but if you can get gold, that's a lot of gold, you know. That's like 50 grand, I'm sure, at least.
Pocket change.
Pocket, yeah.
Got on my left sock.
Okay, fine. Very nice. If so, then it's Ze Keli Van Veyam, a golden becher. So they were all drinking from golden bechers. Now, one pshat is that the gold was, they drank it very, very quickly, and it was also the most chashuv, because when you could drink from a golden becher, you feel uvechelim mekelim shoinim. And the niggin they do here in the Megillah is very unique. You always notice vechelim mekelim shoinim. Like there's a very interesting trop at this part. What are these kelim shoinim? So one pshat is they needed to switch the vessels because people would pocket the cup every drink, which is great. He made a lot from this party. So they would pocket, so they'd have to keep changing the vessels. That's right.
Maybe take them home, you're saying?
Oh yeah. So the guy would go, like, do you have a cup, sir? It's like, no, I needed a cup. Oh, here's another gold, goblet. Another pshat is they switch the vessels every time, because the Mefarshim say when you get a new vessel, rich people do this, is that they bring out one course and then they bring out a new vessel, and you get excited to drink the next cup because it's in like a nicer vessel. It's in some, it's the same thing, but now it's like a new experience. It's a new. So Achashverosh is bringing out new golden vessels every single kos. I'm getting excited just thinking about it. Just new vessels, new.
The count 50 wasn't good enough already.
That's right. You need something new, something better. So they were giving people different vessels. The Mefarshim also explained that because there was so many kalim, it appeared like there was just so many new vessels. There was so many kalim that they were bringing out. Vessels everywhere. Another pshat says it was not pure gold, because people would appreciate drinking in glass, but it had gold inlaid all around the glass, and the handle and the base of the cup was all pure gold. So you had this golden glass experience, this look. Okay, beautiful. V'yayin malchus rav. And the yayin was a lot. Not only was it a lot of yayin, most people, the way they bring out yayin is they bring like the best stuff for last. They save they only bring out like they're really meshubach type of stuff right at the end. Like, Rabbi Eade, you ready for this? And they bring some of the mekalim. So here, right from the get-go, he was already bringing out very fancy yayin. Very fancy wines, flavored wines, spiced wines, fragrant wines. Wines that yain malchus. Malchus means only things that kings usually drink. And now all the commoners are drinking wines that they never imagined their whole life. And all of the yain was kiyad hamelech. Everything was completely in the ability of the king, which showed tremendous wealth and riches, because there was not one feeling of lack the entire time. As the wine is just flowing, a person's like, will this ever end? It's like going to a real rich person's house, and you just feel like, eh. But usually there also he's got a cabinet that not everything just comes out, you understand? He gives, but then there's reserve stash. At this party, everything was coming out. People were it was mind-boggling. All of the wealth and all of the visuals and all the foods that they were having. Bezrat Hashem, we're entering to the party of Achashverosh. We'll continue inside the party tomorrow. B'siyat d'shmai u'neshitz. Amen. Kol tov. A good tavach.